Hey guys, welcome to this for whoever reading. If you were drawn in by the title of this reading, then this reading is just that much more meant for you. But overall, this reading is meant for anyone in need of receiving the message. So I hope you find it helpful. Let's dive in. Messages for whoever needs to receive this message. All right, we have autumn, timing card, starting over, soul growth, clearing, and new intentions. All right, so you might be going through a phase where things are falling away. Maybe they are falling away willingly, maybe they're falling away unwillingly, but either way, things are making way for new growth in your life, okay? So, this is just kind of saying that you might be in a position where you're completely starting things over, or you have an interest in starting everything over, okay? And so you're having new intentions, new ideas are coming to life, and you're kind of wanting to, see where this new beginning, new everything starts. So allow things to fall away that need to fall away so that you can have things grow and sprout and prosper in the energy of the spring. Let's see what else. All right, I have routine and soar. Okay, so this is what is saying is that, you might have been in this routine of kind of this day-to-day thing. This might be a job that you've done and you've just kind of had this career forever. This might be something where you just kind of have gotten into a rhythm of things and things are just kind of like, yeah, this is what I do each day. It's like, putting on my shoes in the morning and I tie them and I just don't really think about it. I walk and I talk and, I chew gum at the same time and this is just what I do. I eat Cheerios for breakfast every morning, whatever it may be, that there is a need for these routines that you probably find quite comfortable and have done for some time to really fall away so that you can kind of mix things up in the energies and make room for something new. What this does is, when these energies are at play and they have things fall away from you, it's so that, it's opportunity to kind of stir things up in the energies so that it will light a little bit of a, fire in your belly so that you can kind of get inspired to do something new. Okay. So when we change things up a little bit, that's when new things come into play, whether it's new friendships, new relationships, new jobs. Maybe we get an inkling to go on a vacation. So let's see here. We have satisfaction and boundaries. Okay. So, here it's just kind of saying, you might have gotten into a little bit of a routine. Maybe this is a routine at work, maybe this is a routine at home. And it's saying, that, maybe you're just feeling a little bit unsatisfied. Maybe things have gotten into a little bit of a rut. Maybe, in your family dynamic or your relationship, things are just kind of feeling, ho hum, and this is just what we do, and hey, how you doing? And you're just kind of hoping for things to change a little bit. So again, in order for those things to really change and for something new to take place, it really does require us to be willing to not only be open to new opportunities and to kind of flow with those energies as they come, but to also, take part in that. We need to meet the universe halfway. So, we need to say, well, I want a change up in my daily life. I get kind of bored. I don't really have any friends, or maybe, all my friends have gotten busy. Now they've got kids. I don't. I'm just really looking for something new. But, we need to meet the universe halfway and saying, if you want to get out there and you want to meet new people, are you even leaving your house? Are you even going to places where you can meet people or where people are at so that you can even meet these new people? Are you joining new communities online? What is it that you're doing to kind of meet us halfway so that we can kind of align you with these new things? So you have to be willing to kind of mix up that routine and be willing to be vulnerable in a way that you can change things up so that the universe can be, can step in and bring these things to us. Okay. So you may want to start with, opening yourself up to maybe going to a new coffee shop, or maybe, instead of reading, audiobooks, maybe you go to an actual physical bookstore and, look through new books and drink a coffee and, maybe you'll meet people that have the same, interests as you do. You never really know. You just need to kind of bring yourself to a place where you're open to these things. Okay, I have resolve coming out and it says this is a period of indecision and inner conflict, and it is time to make a decision. Okay, again, this is something where you're just feeling a bit unsatisfied. You need a little bit of a change up in your routine, and maybe this has been something that you've been likely feeling for a while now. And so, now is really the time to say, all right, you know what? Why not? Let's just try something different. What can happen? They can stay the same or they get better. So, you might as well put yourself out there and take some risks and try something new. And so this is really asking you to, soar to new heights and, take those risks. Let's take a look at your recent past and get more clarity on this situation. Recent past. All right, we have the Eight of Cups. Sorry about that glare. Here we go, the Eight of Cups. So this is telling me that you've walked away from something. This may have been that you've walked away from, a relationship that you've had for a while, or, that you thought would go for the long haul. This may be something you're walking away from family members, friends, a job, whatever it was really unfulfilling to you emotionally. When we have the Eight of Cups come out, it's because something just was not really, what we wanted it to be anymore. Maybe at one time it was really fulfilling and we found joy in it, or maybe it's still just kind of okay. It might not even be bad, but you're feeling this longing and desire to head in a new direction and have, a little bit of a wish fulfillment. After the Eight of Cups comes the Nine of Cups, and that really is wish fulfillment. It's a feeling of saying, you know what? I love life and I'm really excited about it. And I'm happy to wake up, excited to wake up each day and see what the day has to offer to me. Okay. So the Eight of Cups is really leaving that behind. It's not necessarily an easy energy to be leaving these things behind and moving away from those old emotional, attachments that we had to those things and people. But, it really is going to lead you into a place that is a lot more self-fulfilling for you overall. Let's take a look at your present energy and see what's happening here. Present energy. Okay, I've got the Two of Pentacles. So this is that, period of indecision that they're being asked for you to get clear on. Okay, so maybe you're in a place where you're kind of like, yeah, okay, I walked away. I left those things. They're not really satisfying to me anymore, and I want something new. And then that's it, right? You're like, dot, dot, dot. I don't really know what's next. So usually when you're in the energy of the Two of Pentacles, you're either juggling a lot on your plate and you still have responsibilities. And so you're trying to figure out, well, how do I do this? How is this going to take place? How can I do something new when I'm, my schedule is full already. So this can also be a period of indecision where you're kind of like, am I in? Am I out? What am I doing? Do I do this? Do I do that? Do I, go to the bookstore? Do I go to the coffee shop? Do I drive a new way? Do I join a club? Do I go to the gym? You're kind of, in this position of kind of juggling and things are up in the air where you're just really trying to decide, well, what do I do? Okay. So it's okay to be in this energy, but if we stay in it too long, then we tend to get really stuck and then we just don't move at all. Okay. Let's take a look at the near future and kind of see what, is coming here to see how this little bit of a, need to make a decision and go one way or the other is going to play out. Near future, please. All right, I have the Queen of Swords coming out. So this is saying, here in the near future, you need to get really clear. And in order to get really clear and make a decision, to know which way you're going is just kind of taking time to kind of regain a sense of balance. So it doesn't mean that anything has to happen right away, but it also means that, this needs to be a little bit of, in the thought process where maybe you're at least tossing around these ideas and trying to come up with solutions on how to make this change. Whatever it is in your life that's playing out, that's asking you to allow things to fall away so that you can grow in your experience, it's wanting you to do something totally new. And so that can feel really uncomfortable. And, of course, you don't really know what to do. You've never done it before, but this is saying, be open. Why don't you just kind of start tossing around the ideas and really think of what would sound fun to you, or at least it doesn't have to sound fun, but maybe it just doesn't sound boring. So, you might want to get clear and just kind of go in that direction and just start. Any journey of, 1,000 miles, it begins with the first step. And so this is asking you to take that first step, okay? I have the Nine of Wands here and the overall energy that's playing out. And this is saying that, yeah, I mean, you've kind of gotten into this little bit of a pattern of routine. This is saying that, you've gotten really comfortable and you're good with where you're at sometimes. And you're just like, well, I want change, but I don't really do anything to, allow that change to kind of take place. So this is saying that this might be a pattern of behavior where you've really held yourself back. And, that's not necessarily a negative thing. We all do this, but it's just kind of maybe you're having a lack of, courage. an inspiration to go out and do these new things. But what it is just kind of like I said, it's more about just taking the first step. So it doesn't mean that you have to have all these grand ideas and know exactly where you're going and what you're going to do and have it all planned out. But what it means is saying, start with something. It's like if you want to start a new exercise routine and you want to lose weight, well, I mean, you got to start somewhere. Doesn't mean that you've got to go work out for like 3 hours and then, lift weights and run around, 5 miles a day, 7 days a week, and just go, hardcore into it. What it means is just take the first step. Maybe, go for a walk around the block. Maybe take your dog out and you can meet other people. Maybe you'll bump into someone else who has a dog and, you make friends. Maybe you go to the park and take your dog to the dog park and, you see other dogs there. And then you kind of find people that you're like, oh, you look, I have, people that are, sharing my same interest. And maybe someone will talk to you and maybe they have a club that they go to every week or, whatever it may be. I'm just giving examples here. But this is just saying to kind of find that confidence. It doesn't mean that you have to be perfectly confident right out the gate, but when you take those first steps, you'll gain confidence. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at some advice for you. Advice, please. Advice. All right, I have the Seven of Swords here. Okay, so this can be a card where, it can be external to us or internal to us. But what this is telling me here in the energies that are kind of showing up here is that this is something internal. This is something where you are actively likely avoiding, taking that first step. And like I said, it's okay. Be kind to yourself. We all go through this period where we have, a little bit of avoidance and resistance to changing things and doing something new, even though we very much desire it. So this is saying that you might be, lying to yourself and saying, yeah, I mean, I make effort. I, ate a different kind of sandwich today for lunch. But like maybe it's like, well, okay, that's cool and all, but maybe you should try eating your lunch outside. Maybe there's a group of people that you work with that, you've never even talked to, and they are outside eating their lunch all the time. So you've never really had a chance to even meet these new people and have a friendship that you never knew, could exist. So this is saying you might be avoiding or lying this all together and really just kind of staying still. Okay, so they're asking you to take action, even if it is just the first step. That's all that it is. There's no pressure, no perfection needed. Just take the first step, okay? Let's take a look at what's hidden, what you might not be seeing in this situation, so that you can get better clarity on, what's going on and maybe how to proceed. What's hidden in this situation? What's hidden? Okay, I have the Ace of Wands. So that doesn't surprise me. Again, we're talking about, that, feeling of just taking action. Okay, there is something that needs to be ignited within you, some kind of excitement, some kind of something. And like I said, you don't have to have all of the answers. You don't need to have, this is going to be what I'm going to do, and then I'm just stuck with it once I start. You're not stuck in anything. This is just being willing to kind of try new things. It's being willing to follow those little nudges that you're kind of like, oh, well, that might be nice to do, and then go do it. So this is following those nudges that you're getting that are calling you to action so that you can kind of find these new things and, just kind of make your way from there. So this is saying what's hidden here is just the drive to get started, okay? So once you get started though, like I said, that first step is the scariest, but once you make it, it's not too hard from there. Let's take a look at what you don't see coming. What you don't see coming in the next week or two. What they don't see coming, please. Okay. I have the Queen of Cups. So you don't see coming in the next week or two here in the near future is that you don't see that, something might actually be very fulfilling to you. This might be something that really lights your heart. You might just stumble upon it accidentally, but you don't know until you get out there. You can find that you are really, really, really happy in whatever you may bump into. And maybe you just need to kind of go down into that heart space where you're just kind of open to things being happy and, just seeing the day for what it is. It's kind of like, yeah, if I go for a walk around the block, I'm not going to complain the whole time and avoid it and be like, yeah, well, I went yesterday and I went a couple houses down and then I came back, but I didn't meet anybody. So what a waste of time. I'm never gonna, meet anybody. Well, you got to kind of change that mindset. And if you go into this kind of like positive mindset where you're kind of like, yeah, let me walk around the block. And if not, if anything, at the very least, I get fresh air. My dog gets out, gets his energy out. He's not running around the house tearing things up. And, I bump into new people, or at least I see new trees, and I'm just enjoying the weather. And overall, my mood is just in an overall more pleasant state. And even if that's all that you're achieving in that walk around the block and taking those first steps, that might be conducive to igniting a little bit of a new thing in you where you're like, ooh, maybe I should try that. So it might get some confidence in you to where it will lead to what is really fulfilling to you. Okay. So what you're being guided to do here is just kind of be open. Don't be so close-minded. Allow the changes to take place. Allow the old to fall away and be willing to put yourself out there and actively make the choice to do it and see what happens. Keep an open mind. I don't think you'll be disappointed. So that's what I have for you. I hope that this reading was helpful for you. Until I see you next time, take care.